Hello and welcome back to Radiant Dawn 0% Growths. We are on the penultimate chapter. Last chapter, Shinon was the MVP, because apparently killing some nameless dragon so we can get access to Degensia is more important than killing Degensia himself, I guess. This chapter is, of course, another defeat boss. This time the boss is Sephiran. And he's not nearly as, I don't know, big as Degensia, but taking him down is a little bit more complex. He does have a lot of defense thanks to the combination of 25 defense plus this gem that gives him an extra 10 defense to get him to 35, plus he's standing on a cover tile that gets him to 45. So he's actually almost got as much defense as Degensia, and of course, we don't have any effective weaponry against him. And he's faster. So, in some ways, he's actually harder to kill. On the other hand, he still does have, less defense and a lot less HP. But then again, the other thing that makes him harder to kill is you have to kill all of these spirits that are surrounding him. Any spirit that's adjacent to him can absorb an attack that is directed at him and redirected at themselves, kind of like the guard skill. I don't actually know what the activation rate on it is, or whether it's like guaranteed or not. From what I've read, I think it's supposed to be, but I'm not really sure. But fortunately, we can just take them all out anyway, and then it's a non-issue. Yeah, this map is absolutely covered with that, with the special terrain. Like, none of the squares are normal squares, so you got your cover tiles, you got your ward tiles, you got your super cover tiles with 15 defense, which unfortunately the spirits surrounding Sephiran are on, which makes them a lot harder to kill. And then you've got the cover plus dodge tile that Sephiran and a couple of the other spirits are on. The spirits have huge movement ranges, so it can be a little bit scary to engage them on enemy phase, although it's pretty manageable if you end up doing that. Though we're gonna have our own way of dealing with that particular problem. When I say huge movement ranges, 20 movements, it's basically the entire map. They're all magic based, so defense at this point isn't really doing a whole lot. And they're pretty fast. The thunder ones have 28 speed, the wind ones and fire ones have 30 speed. So they're definitely not easy to double. Easier than Sephiran, though. And Sephiran, of course, has Mantle, and also has Corona, so we're gonna... Not that kind of Corona. We're going to need Nihil again. And for this chapter, what we're doing is we've got... Tibarn has got Nihil, and he's got Pass. I actually took Celerity off of him and gave that to Nyla, who also has Parity. And then we've also got Kanagis over here, who has Nihil as well. So Parity allows you to bypass the effects of the cover tiles. So Nyla would, because of the cover tile, Nyla would normally not be able to one-round these spirits, but she can with the bonus from the cover tile. Tibarn also would not be able to normally one-round these because of the cover tile, but I gave him one of my 2 energy drops to boost his strength by 4 effectively, because it gets doubled. So you get +2, but then it gets doubled when he transforms, so it's effectively +4, which is +8 damage when he's doubling. I've still got 1 left. I'll get into this in a little bit, but basically the choice was between having Micaiah use a charge of the rescue staff or giving Tibarn the energy drop. I had to do one of those 2 things to complete this chapter, but not both. And I chose to give Tibarn the energy drop. The reason being that I think it's very, very likely that I would want him to have it for next chapter anyway. Whereas, like, I'm not at all convinced that I'm going to need the rescue staff next chapter, but I could imagine a situation which, like, you know, Ashera's doing her big, like, AoE attack, and we're not one-turning the chapter, and we need Raphael to survive. And so what we do is we, like, have Raphael, like, go in and chant, like, close in, and then we rescue him back out. I could imagine that being something that I want to do. So that's my reasoning there. Like, Tibarn, the reason I anticipate wanting Tibarn to have the energy drop anyway is because Tibarn is one of the few people who can double Ashera herself, who has 40 speed. So with Whitepool, Tibarn and Nasala are the only ones who can double her. I guess, like, Resolve Scrimmer could do it, but or probably Resolve whoever else. But yeah, Resolve aside, it's just the two of them. So, you know, pumping up Tibarn's damage is gonna, you know, do more work than pumping up other characters' damage. With that all being said, I guess before we get started, we should probably talk about our new units, which are Nasir and Gareth. So starting with Nasir, I talked about Whitepool without even mentioning Nasir, but yeah, Nasir is the one who comes with Whitepool. It gives adjacent units +5 magic and, much more importantly, +5 speed, so it allows you to cross some doubling thresholds both this chapter and next chapter. It's a very, very valuable skill. And it's pretty much the only relevant attribute that Nasir has other than, like, his ability to not die. Like, he can deal a decent amount of damage, but he's not going to one-round anything, and his accuracy is not great, and for the most part, like, at this point, we're, like, looking to deal damage with, like, our, you know, like a few characters, and then, like, pour all of our resources into optimizing how we use those characters rather than, like, spreading the damage around amid a bunch of characters. So, I mean, I'm not gonna say that Nasir attacking is necessarily gonna be irrelevant, at least for next chapter. I could, you know, see him, like, getting into position to set somebody up to double, but then, like, chipping one of the auras or whatever while he's at it. Yeah, that could definitely happen, but his attack, his defenses, whatever, none of that's really what's important at this point. If you're playing, like, more casually, I do think you know, those things can become more relevant. The fact that he has 42 transformed resistance means you don't have to worry about him, like, dying on enemy phase at all here. Like, he's just invincible to all of these spirits who have, like, 36, 39, 36. So, like, unlike Gareth, who we'll get to in a second, but, like, he's a lot, like, easier to use in that sense. Even though he's only got 16 speed and he gets doubled by everything, he, you know, he'll just tank it all. And I mean, the fact that he can deal some damage, you know, like, if you're trying to, like, kill all the spirits or whatever, like, he can deal some damage to one of them and somebody else can clean up the kill if you're trying to feed kills to somebody, or, you know, whatever. Like, you just need to use somebody who doesn't double. You know, so I mean, there's some relevance to that, but like I said, mostly it's just about the Whitepool. Gareth, similar story, except that he has pretty poor resistance, and so, like, is not very good at surviving here. Although in practice, like, it's not too difficult for him to survive between, like, the Lordwood tiles and the fact that, like, the enemies will prefer not to get counterattacked, and as a dragon he has 1 to 2 range. But yeah, he's only got 14 speed. He does have a ton of defense, which isn't relevant right now because we don't have any enemies that attack into defense. The only attacks into defense that are left are, like, the AoE judge things that I don't even know if Sephirin has a physical one, but I know Ashera does. He does have a ton of strength. Like, he does hit hard. His skill is quite poor, though, so his accuracy leaves a lot to be desired. And again, he's not going to, like, one-shot anything. At least I don't think. Like, 44 and 18 is, what, 62? I guess it's possible that, like, this thing has 61 HP plus defense. He actually would one-shot that. But you'd have to transform him first. He wouldn't one-shot that. Well, this is assuming that they're not all on a cover tile, too. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, mostly he's here so that he can bring Blood Tide. You got a second source of that along with Ina. If you can get 2 of them next to somebody and get them plus 10 damage, you know, plus the white pool and to make them double, like, I mean, hey, that's like a lot of firepower that you can stack up, so that's pretty nice. Also, he's pretty dang good at shoving. 18 con untransformed is, well, it's gonna be relevant here. So yeah, so that's nice. I mean, I definitely think that, you know, looking at the 2 of them, like, would I rather be deploying them over, like, Soth and Soniki, who are the 2 that I have benched? Yeah, probably. Just kidding, not Soth. Renning and Sonic for this chapter because we want a lot of shoving and we don't need Renning to shove anything. Although we have more shoves than we actually need, strictly speaking. But still. Alright, I think that's all that needs to be discussed, so let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we are going to have Oliver come down here and rescue Canigus, who is strong enough. He and Gifgar are strong enough to kill the spirits that are on the cover tiles. I don't think that's going to be terribly surprising to anyone, but it is the case. So he can come down here and, with the help of Pass, run past that one spirit and kill one of the ones guarding Sephiran. And then we're gonna start shoving Raphael here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not far enough. 6. And then we're gonna have Gareth smite Tibarn up. Tibarn, thanks to sent him to the wrong place. Thanks to the plus 4 effective damage from the energy drop per hit, can kill the spirit despite it being on the cover tile. And I could have given him parity, but then he wouldn't have been able to have pass, and he wouldn't have been able to travel through this thing. And I would have either needed to kill it, or I would have needed to have him further forward, and that's where I get into the whole, like, rescue staff thing. Like, if he had parity, so he needs Nihil to counteract Corona. If I gave him parity and Nihil instead of pass and Nihil, then I would need him to either be 2 spaces further forward, which I don't have enough people who can shove Tibarn to be able to do, even though I do have enough, like, shoves to do it. Because, like, none of these... Well, actually, Ina could shove Tibarn. Maybe Transform Nisala could shove Tibarn. I don't know. Maybe I actually could have shoved him 2 more times, and I didn't technically need to use the energy drop, but it's not like it really matters anyway. In any case, we're gonna start shoving Nyla now. I think, yep, we've got enough to have Nyla come down here, and she is going to use parity to take one of these guys out. And then Raphael's going to chant. You can talk to Sephiran too. Use parity again to take out this one, and that will be the end of the spirits guarding Sephiran. And now we can just bop him with Anagus. And once again, and this is the other reason to give Tibarn the energy drop. Like, if we had the rescue, then maybe we could get somebody down here to give him like an attack support or you know, something along those lines. But since we don't, we've got the 2 extra. We went for the energy drop instead. We got the 4 extra damage. Sorry, so he goes from 11 to 15, which means he does just enough damage to finish off Sephiran. He does have the 1% crit rate, but not such a big deal. Anyway, and there you have it. Another tower chapter in 1 turn. And I don't have any expectation that I'll be able to do 4E5 in 1 turn, but I am pretty proud of having come up with this one, because I have to say, my initial read on this was, there's no way that I can do this in 1 turn with, you know, in 0% growth. So I was like, yeah, you could do it in 1 turn with growths, but like, you know, you gotta like clear out too many of these things. Like, you gotta chant too far forward. Like, yeah, even if I rescue, like, how am I gonna get people far enough into position? But then I decided, you know, what if I dream big and just go for it and see what happens, and this was the result. And I think this was like to me at least, this felt less obvious than the Gensia clear. Like, maybe, you know, maybe people will disagree. Maybe people think that this one was like easier to figure out. I would be interested to hear people's thoughts on that. But for me, this one felt more challenging to come up with. Even though, like, in the end, it looks like pretty straightforward. It's just a bunch of shoves, right? But, you know, it's still like the exact damage thing of giving Tibarn exactly 1 energy drop is kind of hard to see that before you do it, because it adds so much damage. It adds 8 damage when he's doubling. So like, you're looking at, you know, you're not used to looking at him doing like 16 times 2 to an enemy with 40 HP and thinking, oh, I can solve that with 1 energy drop. Granted, I do have 2 energy drops, but still, it's just like, you know, not. It's sometimes it feels hard to wrap my head around the multiplication there, as simple as that math actually is. Either way, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time for the conclusion of this playthrough, when we finally reach Shara and take her down. Until then.